Welcome to Coaching for Creatives with Kirsten. My name is Kirsti Call. I'm a therapist-trained life coach and a children's book author. Together, we'll get the drama out of our lives and onto the page. Let's get started. You are listening to Episode 12, Overwhelm. Okay, let's talk about overwhelm. This is something that so many of my clients feel, and I'm not going to overwhelm you with too long of an episode. I know most of my episodes are about 10 minutes long, and this might even be shorter. But this is a very important topic. I think it's part of just being human. 12 years ago, I moved to Massachusetts. Back then, I had an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-month-old. Each night was filled with crying children and diaper changes, and each day was filled with crying children, diaper changes. I was trying to organize the house, help the older kids assimilate to a new school since we'd moved in the middle of the school year. I was trying to support my husband as he figured out a new job. I was trying to get my professional license for being a therapist in Massachusetts since there was no reciprocity from Pennsylvania. It felt like a lot. It felt like too much. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it all. Meanwhile, I needed to find friends for my kids and myself. I felt completely overwhelmed. So, of course, naturally, I decided to add something. This was when I decided to start writing again. I wrote down some of the stories I was telling my children, and The Big Scream, which came out last summer, is the result of the very first picture book I attempted to write. When I felt overwhelmed, I took stock of my life and realized I needed to do something that was purely for fun, purely creative, purely for me. Overwhelm is an emotion that stems from thoughts like, it's too much. I can't do it all. There's no way one person is capable of carrying all I have to carry. I won't ever catch up. My to-do list is endless. Overwhelm pretends to be caused by what is going on in your life, but overwhelm is actually caused by your thoughts. Those thoughts that make you feel like you aren't capable of doing it all. Overwhelm is caused not by all the things that are going on, but by your thoughts about those things. Why do people feel so overwhelmed? I think in this day and age, our brains are just overloaded. There are more options for everything. Numberless movies on Netflix. But there are also numberless ways to access TV and movies like Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and Apple TV. We have 100 types of cereal on the shelves and 20 types of milk to choose from. We have numberless books in the library and available on Audible and Kindle. 300 years ago, many people didn't even know how to read, let alone have options to read so many books. They probably only had one option, like the Bible. Also, there are so many things that never existed before now. Even in my lifetime. No email or internet or smartphones until I was in college or graduating from college. Our brains are not made for so much input. Another reason we are overwhelmed is because we fill our lives with good things, worthy things. Perhaps we feel like our worth is transactional, like maybe we have to be busy in order to matter in this world. We overcommit. Sometimes we don't think about how saying yes to one thing is the equivalent of saying no to something else. And soon we find ourselves with so many things to do that we can hardly remember the purpose of doing them. Another reason we stay in overwhelm is because overwhelm feels like a safe place to stay. It feels safer to continue to believe that everything is too much than to believe we can do something about it. It feels easier to be overwhelmed than to take action in order to manage our time and our thoughts. Overwhelm is actually a pretty indulgent emotion, right? But fortunately, once we realize it's not the circumstances in our lives that are causing our overwhelm, but it's our thoughts about them, we can start to figure out how to extricate ourselves from these feelings of overwhelm. Here are 3 things we can do. Number 1, ask yourself, do the facts warrant negativity? Do the facts warrant stress? Does this stress help? If not, clean up your thoughts. Change your narrative. Perhaps think things like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be on my journey. I can choose what I do. I have the power to decide how to spend my time. I don't have to do anything on my to-do list if I don't want to do it. I am dauntless and capable and worthy. Once you're thinking helpful thoughts, the solutions follow naturally. That leads us to number 2. Train your brain to manage options. Decide before you go to the library which books you want to check out. Decide what you want to buy before you go to the store. Constrain yourself. 100 brands of cereal won't give you decision fatigue if you don't eat cereal, or if you already know you are only going to buy granola, or something like that. Number 3, decide to add or subtract things from your life. In my example of overwhelm 12 years ago, I added writing into my life to make my life more manageable. It's fun to add things to your life, especially when they are things that feed your soul. Perhaps add bubble baths, nature walks, long hugs. Perhaps add permission to read an entire book in one sitting, or add time for just sitting and thinking. Another option is to subtract things from your life. Perhaps you need to get rid of the extra clothes in your closet, or get rid of negative thoughts you're having, or subtract that weekly appointment with the friend who brings you down. Perhaps you need to subtract a volunteer position or a class. The very act of adding or subtracting things from a cleaned up mind will empower you to vanquish your overwhelm. The next time you feel like you just can't handle it all, remember, overwhelm is the result of a mismanaged mind. It's not a circumstance. It's created by sentences in your brain that are just thoughts, not facts. Nothing more than thoughts. Please don't use overwhelm as an excuse to avoid what you are meant to do in this world. And you're meant to do something phenomenal. Your mission in this life is epic. I can feel it. Until next time, keep smiling. If you like what you've heard, check out my Get Yourself Unstuck program. Go to KirstenCall.com. That's KirstineCall.com and schedule a free consultation today. Coaching for Creatives is produced by Kirsti Call. Music and audio engineering by James Call.